go.
Okay. You want to burn it?
Okay, so we'll get the old irons heated up again. Okay, 350, and away we go.
See the color change?
Yep,
Certain
quite a
change in the reflectivity.
Yes, yeah, well that's what we call, we're going to refer to it as a color change today. Yeah. Now you just want to make sure that you've gone the whole process.
Yes.
So what you want to do, if you want to, if you got that one?
Yeah, he's done it.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, now you
So-
caught that
so-
little spot there.
So what you want to do now, if you're going to take this one, Gary, start in this area, in
Yeah.
the middle,
Yes.
and then work one way, and then come back, take
Yeah.
over, and work your way through the process. Don't worry about going over those from one to the other. That's not going to be a problem. Now, yep, just keep going. Perfect.
Because you get a certain speed.
Yep, and you can hear it. Actually, if you listen to it.
I heard something.
Yep. Okay. Now move down and cover basically about half of it. And now when you get looking at it, you will see wrinkles that just disappear, that are there, and they completely go.
Right here.
Yep, exactly. That's where it stops. Yeah. Lots of pressure on it so that I can pull it straight.
Yeah.
Being straight is the
I'll keep my thumb on it anyway.
yeah. So within reason,
So that.
I'm going to pull it off a little bit more.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And there we had a bit of a black line from the
Yeah.
iron.
Yeah. Exactly. Sometimes you have things that'll lead you astray.
You should, yeah.
Yeah. So there, I think we're good. So the key is just sighting down. If you see a big wow in it,
Something's wrong.
yeah, we don't want that. We'll just pull it up and go
Yeah.
again. Now go approximately there. Okay.
Oh, it sticks to the,
Yep, sticks to
The
the glue
glue.
pretty good.
it's in there. That's,
Okay. Center line is about there. Not too bad.
long ways down.
Yeah, this one. Okay.
Yeah, it's in there.
Pretty
Again,
good.
it's probably an 1/8 inch.
Yep. So what we're trying to do now is to lay out the spacings for our rib stitching that we're going to do. And we start in from an edge. Now this is, right under this is sheet metal, so we can't tie into that. We come to the edge of the sheet metal, which is basically this line right here. We start in approximately 1/2 inch. So my first line, my first rib stitch is going to be right there. Now, we referred to AC 4313-1A to B, and we went to the chart in Chapter 2 and stated that the VNE never exceeds speed, or velocity never exceeds speed for the aircraft, which we know is 180 knots. The rib stitch spacing can't be any less than 2.5 inches apart while it's in the slipstream. This
What's that?
This rudder is right in the middle of the slipstream, so we can't go anything less than, or sorry, anything more than, not less than, anything more than 2.5 inches. So every stitch now that we're going to do is I'm just going to set it up here, and it's going to be measured out at 2.5. So now, Russ, if you'll just hold that there. Now, 2.5, right?
Right.
You're over top of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so bring it back. And again, 2.5. We're in the process of recovering the Norseman rudder. And we are going to do it to a specific standard which is set up by Transport Canada and recognized by the different aviation governing bodies around the world. The book we're using is called AC 4313 1B2A. In this book, we have a lot of data which we will use in the process of covering this. So what I'd like to explain is that we are in the process of doing rib stitching. The rib stitching on this component is to keep the fabric tight against the component itself so that when the air passes by it does not balloon out. This is a very tough string that we are going to be using, and this is the actual string itself. We will be using a needle to sew this. We have marked a specific spacing that we're going to use, and this will become the knot that we're going to actually tie. And if you can notice here, this is basically how it looks after it's been completed. To figure out our positioning for these knots, there is a chart in the book here that we'll go to, which tells us the spacing we will use for how fast our particular airplane flies. The Norseman flies at approximately 150 miles per hour. We are going to be doing rib stitching on the rudder, which is within the slipstream. So that's going to put us right on this mark right here. So we're going to have about a 1, 2.5 inch spacing, and there's our speed on our aircraft for 150 miles an hour. So that's where we would bring that to that point. So we know the spacing is going to be 2.5 inches. We have marked on our ribs spacings now of 2.5 inches with a pencil on the tape that we're using here. And now we're going to go ahead shortly and start the stitching process. What we need now is anything that's measured 2.5 inches up, and we're good. Okay, so 2.5 inches. Now we're going to come into a little bit of a problem right here for our final spacing, because that would have been 2 inches. That one's 2.5. So what we'll do is we'll go about 2.25. We're going to split this final one just to make it work. We're not going over 2.5, so we should be all right at 2.25. Okay. So we'll go approximately right there. And so that puts us approximately, yeah, about right there.
So they don't have a minimum.
So that's our spacing. Now, what we're going to do is we'll go, when we get to doing the other side, we'll flip it over and we're going to duplicate that on the far side as well. With this thing here, one of the things I can do, I could go, okay, this is 30 inches, 30.5 inches. I could figure out 2.5 inch spacings, or what is close to 2.5 inch spacing,
and then
even spacing if I wanted, but really 2.5 inches. This isn't going to make a lot of difference. We're only out 1/8 of an inch at that spot right there. So anyway,
So why don't I go cut a spacer for you?
all right, if you'll do that. Now we want to be 1/2 inch in from this.
and no more than half.
None really. About 1/2 inches is the standard. If you read the book there, AC 43, which we just looked at, that'll tell you exactly
You start
for each one of them, you know.
Just gonna get a shot through. Yeah, I'll start with the next one.
So that's bang on. So, and then, somebody else want to do this?
Can you do one more?
Yeah, sure. So I'm just starting there. I'm not super accurate because the fabric is not accurate, you know, if you understand where I'm going at this thing. You have a bit of a tolerance, and that's what I usually work for. Nice. So like you're close to 6 feet roughly, 5.5 feet there. So do about 2, maybe 3 times that much. And then we'll cut it off. Okay.
Right around here.
Yep, and about half should be good. So we'll just try to keep it from getting on the floor. On the first knot that we do, on the far side is what they call a square knot or a reef knot, and then it comes back up and we tie the original seine knot at the top end. So I call this as a double seine is what I normally refer to it. So I'm going to create this knot first, and then we'll go on after that to the singles as we work our way down the rib. Okay, so I'm coming through now. So I'm going to pull this all the way through. So I have a tail of approximately 6 to 8 inches hanging on this side. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to feed it back through the same hole that I just came through. And I'm going to pull this through until I've just got a small amount of material left here. So that should be lots for the moment. And then I'm going to come on this side, and I'm just going to push through, back through that side, get myself lined up with this one here, and it just comes through now. What I'm going to do is I'll pull this pretty much, I want to make sure that I keep this tail, and sometimes what I do is I'll take a piece of tape and I'll just stick a piece of tape on there holding that tail out of the way so we don't lose it, but we don't need to do that for sure, but we can. So now I'm snugging this up on this side, so when I pull now, I can choke that knot there a little bit. So I'm going to come back to this side and now do the same knot, or the reef knot, the way I should have done it in the first place. There. So now it's actually that, if you're good looking at it, the correct way of making a reef knot, right? So I'm going to just tension that up like that, and I'm going to tension this up like that, and now I've got that first knot done. So I'm going to take the tail, and I'm going to put it back through here, and this through on this side, back through the hole.
So reef knot first is kind of like
we've done the reef knot.
the grounder.
Yes. Now this one here, I think what I'll do is I'll just cut this off, and we'll start re-threading. Simpler. We're just going to feed this back through the same hole on this side, and we're going to come through on this side. Now, if you want to come to the other side, got better light there. Now, so what we're doing is we're just coming back through the same hole. So what we normally do, what I normally do, is I want this to loop around. So I'm going to pull this through, and I'll pull everything through. Now, what we have to consider is that normally there's a knot that would hold this up in place. So this is normally where this would be. So in this particular situation, because we don't have a knot, and like I said, sometimes I'll put a piece of tape on to hold it. What we're going to do is we're going to create our first loop just by putting it like so. So I've created a loop around the what we call the tail at this moment. So when I bring this needle in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed through from the over top. I'm going to go underneath both of those, and then I'm going to have to go over top of the loop. Okay. So in this situation now, I've gone through the tail, created a loop. Now I'm coming all the way back and going over top of this, over top of the loop, underneath that one, and then going to be over top of that. So now what I'm going to do is I'll pull this needle through. I'm going to keep this from getting all wrapped up, and it looks like kind of a dog's breakfast at the moment, but it will pull itself through here in a second. And this is one of the issues with working with waxed cord, is that it's a little bit sticky to work with. Now, I'm going to keep a little bit of pressure on this one, and I'm going to keep pressure on that. Now I'm just going to pull this through, and this will straighten this up right now, get the twists out of it. So what's going to happen is when we tighten up this cord is going to make the knot tie behind on the fabric side. So I'm just going to pull it. If you watch what's happening, I'm putting pressure on this to keep it up. And now I'm just going to pull this through, and it creates what we call a seine knot. Now, I'm happy with that. I just push it over to the side a little bit so it's not sitting right on top of it. I don't want the knot purposely on top of that. We can get two kinds of strings. We can do a flat string and a round string. This is the old school way of doing it with the round string, so that's why I've chosen it. Now, so then we've completed the first knot, that's what we call the double seine. Now, this one becomes the single seine. So what I'm going to do is go through there. I'm lining up with the hole on, or the mark on the other side of the fabric here, making sure that I'm on a right spot coming through. Now, I'm taking this in my hand. I just put my finger in there, and I basically put everything all the way through. So I got about that much thread hanging out. Now I bring it back. I line up on the other side of the rib, and I want to come back in alignment with, hang on for a second, get it closer, where I want to go. There we are. So I'm going to just pull through like that. Now, what I normally do is I'll loop this over top of the needle as it comes through. That becomes my first loop. I pull this through. I can set my needle down. Now I can snug this up. So I'm going to keep pressure on this upper knot. So I'm going to pull that snug. So now we're starting to form a chain. This becomes what we call a chain knot. And when we tie this same knot, every knot is individually tied. So if this gets cut any place along the line, all the rest of the knots will hold. So I've just put a little bit of pressure on that. So I'm going to now create this first loop. I come through over top. So there's my first loop. Okay, I take the needle, and then I'm going to come from over top of this one, underneath that one, over top of that one. I got it loose right at the moment. I just take a little bit of extra care pulling this through, making sure that it doesn't knot up. Now, so what I need to do is I've got to get the cord that came through the fabric on this side. I got to get a hold of it now and pull it snug. So I'm looking for that particular knot, or that particular one, so I need to pull this up, and now all I did is I pulled the first one through. I'm putting a little bit of tension on that now, and what I'm going to do is I want to keep pressure. I'm going to approximately have a 10-pound test. You can hear that snap. What I want is about 10 pounds of pressure between this knot and this knot, sort of thing. So all I'm doing is holding that down with my finger, and I'm going to pull this up. Now it's going to tighten up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this finger, and I'm going to put pressure right up close to the knot, but I'm just going to hold a little bit with this. And now I'm going to pull. If I can ever get a hold of the cord, there we go. Now, I'm just going to slowly take that through, because this is wax cord. It has a tendency to snug up over the knot, but it will come through. Now, okay, there we go. Now, what this does is it has a tendency, because it's a twisted thread, it has a tendency to kind of wrap itself around itself. So, pull. I'm starting to understand why Ron wanted to sell me the flat stuff, because this stuff here is a little different than what I've normally been used to working with, but that's all right. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of pressure on it, and I got this tail. I'm pulling this down. Now I'm going to create a loop again. So this loop is what gives this knot its ability to tie separately and not slip afterwards. So if you know, so I'm going to go over top of this loop, underneath that one, over top of the next one, And then I just pull this through. I was hoping, you know. I thought maybe you were, maybe you wanted to, you know, come in every day. Sure. And it knots itself back behind, and away you go. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 more to go. This is a little bit, but I'm going to get worried about it. Up a little, right there, up, just a hair, close enough.
Down, up, a little bit more up, and to your left a little bit.
My left?
Yeah, and up about 1/8 of an inch. No, up a little bit more into your left, about 1/16.
To my left.
There, perfect, right on the line.
Okay. So before you pull it tight, stick that through. Just makes life easier. Like when I pull it back, I usually just hook it over as the needle is coming through. Just makes life easier.
Oops, a lot of movement there.
Okay, no. That has, no, just pull it straight down. Take your needle and bring it back through this way.
Through here?
Yep.
Second.
And that starts your first bit.
All right.
So now you can pull that loop down to its manageable size. So there you go. About there is good. Then it's over top, underneath, over top. Find your string, and you're good.
That isn't quite how we did it last time.
It's just the way it should have been done.
Yeah,
for
well.
good reason. It's not gonna, like, the key to the whole thing is, yeah, put lots of pressure.
Okay.
And of course the cancer, she flies.
Okay, so I come across there. And then
Here's what we need to do, to be honest. We need to get some of the bylaws of the museum. The bylaws actually say that's what we're going to actually do. Then, of course, when it comes to flying, there's all kinds of issues. There's insurance and maintenance and fuel and oil. I was involved for 20 years at the time of the training plan museum in Brandon. I built 3 airplanes that are out there in airships and it's a doable thing. But we got to get the
ducks in a row to make that happen.
You're right. That's what we need to do. We can create this. We can rebuild it. But we may never ever fly it because we didn't start today to do so that we could. Yeah. So like then there's talk that we want to eventually fly this thing. I cut it, and then the tail that's sticking out, I just wrap it underneath this piece because it's gonna. We don't want it sticking out afterwards. We want it kind of just make it disappear. So I just wrap it a couple of times under.
Gardening salt.
Giant salt.
Yeah.
And
So do a fisherman's bend on that.
there we go.
Do the fisherman's bend on that.
There.
You want me to tie a fish?
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this through. Now, so that's, okay, we're right there.
There's a loop on my side.
Okay. Oh, there is? Okay. So that, now what we'll do is we're going to tie this right now. Without taking the needle out, we'll get this. So we go over top, underneath there, and come back out here. Now, I'll get that. Yeah. There we go. Now, so we're pretty close to, you can let that go now, and what we'll do is just let it fall into there. So that's the back of that loop, okay? So there's your reef knot there. Now, gives its molecules in protecting the actual aluminum itself. And